We are going Mexican once again in the sartorial kitchen. Kicking things off, it is my cilantro lime slaw. That rest is hot, a homemade braised beef mol'e. And our vehicle, homemade corn masa tortillas. And last but not least, it's dessert time. My fried ice cream. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Kitchen, everybody. So no, we are not cooking moles today. Although I would like to stick it to those little buggers for tearing up my garden this season. No, we are making mol'e. So I have got some beef tips in here. It's about 2 pounds. I got a really good deal. And we're using my pressure cooker today. I have not shown off my pressure cooker to you guys yet, so I'm really excited to do that. So that is what we're going to do. So right now we are just making a little kind of marinade broth for our beef. It's going to cook down in here. What I love about the pressure cooker is it does not take nearly as long as say a crock pot or something like that. So I'm going to fill this, I'm going to use about half a container here of this beef stock. That's should be about 2 cups, 2.5 cups. And then I've got some nice flavors here. We want this thing to have really good flavor. So I've got some cumin here. I'm going to do a couple tablespoons of cumin. I know that sounds like a lot, but this is a lot of meat. And then I'm going to do about a tablespoon of garlic powder. Another tablespoon here of onion powder. I want some salt and pepper. And we're going to do a couple teaspoons of salt and about a teaspoon of pepper. And to bring a little heat, just a touch of cayenne, about a 1/4 teaspoon. I don't want this thing to be too hot, but I want it to have some nice heat, and it's going to play nicely with the mole we're going to make here in a second. I'm just going to take a spoon here, and I'm going to come in and just kind of stir this up. You could come in with your hands too if you want. I just want to make sure that beef, all those seasonings get nice and incorporated onto the beef. And then we're just going to set it and forget it, let it go, and that beef is going to get nice and tender. Alright, let's get the lid on this baby and get it going. Okay, so for this, really you just have to hit your meat setting. Make sure that the vent is closed, and you're good to go. This is only going to take about 25 to 30 minutes tops by the time you let it rest. So quick. That's why I love using the pressure cooker. I know you're thinking, I don't believe it. Well, it's true. Now, if you don't have the pressure cooker, you can use a crock pot. You're going to need to allow yourself more time. You're going to need a little more liquid because it's going to be sitting longer, and you may want to check on it occasionally. But that works just as well. And we're going to move on to our mole. So let's talk mole. Mole, it's a very rich sauce, many ingredients to it, but I'm going to show you just how accessible it can be, because I know moles can be daunting. And it's one of my favorite things of all time. So we're going to start with some tomato paste here. And like, this isn't necessarily the traditional way to make it, but I'm showing you an easier way to make it. It's going to be full. It's still going to be full of flavor, and it's going to be delicious. So I'm 1 can of tomato paste here. Now, I absolutely love mole sauce. Growing up, we didn't get to have Mexican much, or even Tex-Mex. Dad's a really picky eater. So if he was ever away on business, or wasn't going to be home for dinner, that was our night to splurge. And mole, that's probably one of my favorite things. So that is what I'm bringing to you guys today. So I've got my tomato paste. This is a can of diced tomatoes. We want this thing to have lots of good flavor, so I'm adding all kinds of fun things here. And then I've got a bunch of different chilies here. This thing is going to be sweet, it's going to be spicy, it's going to have some richness to it. So So I've got some green chilies here. And the chilies go a long way, so I'm using just a small little 4-ounce can of the green chilies. I've also got some chipotle peppers here. And those we're just going to dump right in. Okay, that is it for the canned stuff. Now I've got some things out of the garden. These are some dried peppers. Peppers I picked out of the garden. I have let dry down in my cellar. And I'm just going to kind of break them up into pieces. I really, I don't want the shell so much as I want the seeds out of it. That's going to give us some nice heat. Okay, that's it for that. I've also got an onion here and a jalapeno and a clove of garlic. Now for the jalapeno, you just cut the top off. We're going to come down here and slice this baby in half. I'm going to come through with my spoon and I'm going to scoop out the inside. The membrane and the seeds, that's where a lot of that heat comes from. So we do want some heat, but I don't want it too spicy. Even I can't do too spicy. Make sure you get all the seeds out of there. Okay, that's pretty good. And rinse your hands off when you're working with jalapenos. Even the juice, you touch your face, you touch anything after having that juice on you, it's gonna burn. It's not fun. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a rough chop on this. Because it's going in the food processor, so we don't necessarily have to dice it. We just want to break it up some to help our food processor out. That's going to go right in. Okay, the onion here, I'm just going to cut this end off. We want to peel the onion. We don't want the onion skin in our mole, just the onion. And guys, that beef, I mean, I can already smell that beef as well. Amazing. I'm just going to kind of cut this into segments. That's going to go right in. And the other guy here. And last but not least, our garlic. This is also a great way to utilize a lot of fresh veggies out of my garden. I'm going to do this whole clove of garlic. I want this to have really good flavor. Garlic, we just want to give it a little smash with our knife. And that'll break that shell off. You can throw it right in. Okay, that is the last of our garlic. We've got everything in here. So we're just going to go ahead and give it a nice pulse. And I'm going to come in here with the rest of our beef stock here just to thin it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take a spoon and just kind of work this around a little bit just to help it mix everything up nicely. Okay, this is looking pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. Get rid of this lid here. I've got a saute pan going here on a low heat. We want to add some heat to this before we incorporate it with our beef. Just like any kind of sauce you make, whether it's like a tomato sauce, pasta sauce, you want to kind of cook that down a little bit. Okay, now we're going to add some more flavors here. I've got some more cumin. I'm going to add a couple more tablespoons of the cumin. Of course, some salt. About a teaspoon and a half of salt. About a teaspoon of pepper. A little sugar, just to get rid of that aluminum can taste from the canned peppers and the tomatoes. So I'm going to do about a couple tablespoons of sugar. And I already had a couple tablespoons of oil in here, just to kind of keep everything from burning. And I'm just going to stir this in. What I love about the cumin is that's what gives it that rich, dark color. As you can see, this is reducing nicely. It's got a nice, rich color on it. So good. So our last ingredient here is our dark chocolate. Chocolate can burn easily and seize, so I wanted to wait to add this. And you can use any kind of dark chocolate you like. I just figured this would melt nicely into it. I'm just kind of breaking it into pieces so it incorporates well. Give it a little stir and it'll be ready for our meat. Okay, our sauce is good. I'm going to pull that off the heat and set it to the side while our meat continues to cook, and we'll move on to our slaw. Okay guys, time for our slaw. This is a really easy slaw. I love some nice fresh veg on top of a slaw. So this is a cilantro lime slaw. And like always, I like to start with the dressing. You can mix the dressing and then throw everything in and toss it together so much easier. So I've got some mayonnaise here. I need a couple tablespoons of mayonnaise here. That should do me pretty good. And I also need here a little sour cream. About equal parts sour cream and mayonnaise. Okay, that's pretty good. Cilantro lime slaw without some cilantro and some lime. This I just picked earlier today out of the garden. We do not need much of it. Cilantro is really strong. Some people don't like it because it has kind of a soapy quality to it, they say. I've never noticed. I like a little of it. It adds a nice brightness. And then we're just going to kind of come in with our knife back and forth here. The lime we're using 2 ways. You know I love zesting my citrus. So we're just going to roll this baby to get some of those juices loose. And we'll get out our hydrant flame. And just go right over top here. I'm going to zest about half of this lime. We don't need too much of it. It's just to enhance the flavor of the dressing. I think that's pretty good. You always want to check the back of this baby because they like to hide out from you. And we'll cut into this and give it a nice squeeze. We're going to double fist it here. Limes I like, you don't have to worry about the seeds, so you can just go right at it. And that's the juice of the whole lime there. It's going to add some nice acidity to our slaw. Just really brighten it up, nice bright flavors. And then of course, always salt and pepper. This will have good flavor. Got a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper. And then we'll come in here with our whisk and we'll just stir that up. It smells amazing. Right into this. Go ahead and dump the whole bag in. You can use any kind of slaw you want. Sometimes I do like radicchio, like a red cabbage, but I think this works just as well. And you can find these ingredients in your grocer. It doesn't have to come out of the garden. Lime, cilantro are usually pretty inexpensive. But you can't have a taco without slaw. So that's pretty good. You don't want to overmix it. You just want a nice generous coating with the dressing on your slaw. And I think that looks pretty good. Alright. I'm going to wrap this baby up and we'll stick it in the fridge and it'll be ready for us when our meat comes out. Next we're going to move on to our tortillas. You can't have tacos without tortillas. And you are in for a treat today because we are making our own corn tortillas. It's so easy. I'm going to show you guys. So I've got some masa flour here, masa harina. I just need 2 cups. Now if you can't find the masa, I had trouble finding the masa. You can always do a mixture of cornmeal or polenta and a little bit of flour and just kind of pulse that together. And then do like equal parts. And you'll basically have the same thing. Okay, so to that, I need about a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to go ahead and give that a little mix. I'm going to use a wooden spoon here. Just kind of keep everything from sticking. And I've kind of greased my bowl a little bit. Just to keep the dough from sticking. And then I've got 1.5 cups here of hot water. We're going to add it just a little bit at a time. And then you want to come in here and just kind of, at the sides here, you want to come in and kind of mix that together. And you can add more water as you need it, but once you have too much water, that's when you start to get into trouble. So I like to add just a little bit at a time until it all comes together. And you may need more. You may need more than 1.5 cups. You just want to kind of see as you go. But I think this is going to be pretty good. It's looking pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and cover this with a towel and let it rest for about 10 minutes. You want your dough to kind of set up before you go to start cooking it. I'll get my cast iron out and we'll just fry a few of these babies up and we'll be good to go. Okay, I have released the pressure on our meat. I'm just going to let it rest a little bit. In the meantime, we're going to move on to our tortillas. Now, if you don't have a tortilla press, don't fret. I'm going to show you a nice little hack here. So first we want to get our dough. I'm using my ice cream scoop here, and I'm going to get a nice, generous scoop. Nice big scoop. Almost like a big ice cream scoop. And you can use any kind of flat surface, really. I've got a saucer here. And I'm just going to come down and press on that dough nice and hard. So you get a nice flat tortilla. Just like this. And I've got our pan nice and warm here. I'm going to throw that baby down. We're going to move on to some more. You want a nice cast iron skillet for this. That is one thing you're not really going to be able to get around here. And again, a nice big scoop. And that's just going to cook about a couple minutes on each side till it just gets nice and toasty. You want that, make sure that dough is cooked through. So I've got my tortillas here. Let's go ahead and check this guy. You can see when it starts to smoke. And we're just going to flip it over. You see it's got that nice kind of crust on the one side. And I've got just a little oil down just to keep it from sticking and to give it a little color. I'm going to drop just a little more here just to kind of help it out. Just kind of slide that in our oil. Now that this has stopped hissing here, we can kind of break in here and release. Take our lid off of that. Oh yes, that is looking really good, guys. Okay, I think our meat is looking pretty good. I'm just going to come in here, mash it up just a little. You can see it is nice and moist. And it's just going to shred nicely. And you can see the pressure cooker took about 30 minutes or so. Maybe about 35, 36 by the time I let it rest and let it depressurize. I'm just going to come in here. I don't want to break it up too much. I still want it to have some texture. I just want to kind of get at some of those big pieces, kind of break it down some. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now let's add our sauce. That luscious sauce that I made earlier, I'm just going to dump that right in. So good. And we're going to give that a nice stir. I'm just going to come in here, come under and up, and just see how that incorporates beautifully. And it smells amazing. Alright, let's build our tacos. Okay, I've got a plate here. I'm going to come in and get some of this beef. Does that not look good? But one more thing, and that is a nice helping of our slaw. This is that cilantro lime slaw I made earlier. And our homemade masa. Let's just come in here and give it a nice big taste. Oh, so good. That beef is so tender, just melts in your mouth. You have all those rich flavors. It's a little bit of heat, not too much heat. But you definitely get all those depths of flavor from the mole. And then just a nice brightness from the slaw. Just really, the lime and the cilantro, everything just really brightens it up. So good. Amazing. So last but not least, it's dessert. And we are making some fried ice cream. Stay tuned. Alright guys, last but not least, it is dessert. And I'm making some fried ice cream. Now some of you are probably not familiar, thinking, what is fried ice cream? It's basically a vanilla ice cream that has pieces of fried tortilla in it with some cinnamon sugar. But I've also got a little dulce de leche here. And then I'm going to put a little, mix a little cinnamon in with the ice cream as well. It's going to be so good. So I'm starting with some flour tortillas here. I'm just cutting them into triangles. And they don't have to be too big. I'm going to kind of break them up into the ice cream. You just want a good size that'll fit into your skillet here. And I've just got about a cup of oil there. Just enough. And we're going to do a shallow fry on these. And I'm just going to put them in a few at a time. So I don't want to overcrowd my skillet. And these are going to cook really quick, so we're just going to do about one side, give them a flip, and then we'll dust them in our cinnamon sugar. Okay, we're going to turn these guys over. And that's about the consistency you want right there. You want a little color on it, but you don't want it too dark. And then it's just going to cook about a minute on the other side. Alright, let's pull these babies out. Alright, time for our next batch. Alright, let's flip these guys over. Beautiful. Not too dark, but a nice crust on the tortilla. And they puff up, they get nice and puffy. And one more guy here. Okay, while those cook up, I've got just a tub of vanilla ice cream here. You can use whatever vanilla you like. This just happened to be on sale. And I've left it sit out a little bit just to kind of let it soften up some. Now I'm going to take some cinnamon here. And we're going to throw some of that in there. About a tablespoon. Sounds like a lot, but this is a lot of ice cream. And I've also got some of my dulce de leche. I'm going to scoop about half this jar out. I want this ice cream to have lots of flavor. If you're going to go for ice cream, why not indulge, right? Give our last tortillas here a little flip. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off on my oil. It should stay hot enough to finish cooking our guys there. And this is why I let the ice cream sit out, so I can work with it here. You don't want it completely melted. That's no good. You just want it to almost kind of be like soft serve. And you can stir that right in, and you can see the ribbons of the caramel and the flecks of the cinnamon. So good. It's going to be even better when we add our tortillas. Amazing. Okay, our chips are ready. I'm going to sprinkle them with some cinnamon sugar. Nice generous helping. And you want to do that while they're good and hot so it sticks. And I'm just going to kind of toss those around. And you can always just eat the chips like this. But I want them in my ice cream. Okay, this looks pretty good. I'll incorporate it. And these have cooled enough, I think, that it's safe to break it up. You just kind of freeform, just break it into pieces. Alright, that is our tortilla pieces. We're just going to fold that in. And then of course you want to set this back in your freezer or your deep freeze to let it set. But I'm going to go ahead and have some. I've got a bowl here. While this is good and soft, I'm just going to go ahead and scoop some of this out. Make sure I get all those lovely pieces in there. Yum. And that is fried ice cream. Let's give it a taste. So good. Vanilla ice cream, don't get me wrong, I like vanilla ice cream, but sometimes it's a little one note. So adding that caramel, the cinnamon, and those tortilla pieces give it a nice texture. So good. So, thank you for joining me in the kitchen once again. Like and subscribe as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.